Great. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to talk about Objective 12.2, Natural Selection. Explain the role of natural selection as an evolutionary mechanism. I want to start with this little grasshopper example. So notice here's like some happy grasshoppers living their life. There happen to be tan grasshoppers and green grasshoppers. And then one day, a bird comes along and eats them. The bird might have eaten that grasshopper by chance, or it might have eaten it because it was easier to see due to its color. Could you imagine how in this environment the tan grasshopper would stick out and the green ones would blend in? Over time, we'll probably see a change in the population and there'll be more green grasshoppers. Since the tan ones are easier to see, they're eaten, they don't get to reproduce. The green ones live and reproduce and keep having more green babies. Notice the tan stays in the population, it just becomes less common. This is natural selection in a nutshell. The idea that the better suited individuals are the ones who survive and reproduce. And over time, this can cause changes in populations. Natural selection can only occur if three conditions are met, and we're going to discuss those next. The first condition is that more individuals must be born than can actually survive. Because if everyone survives, it doesn't matter what your traits are. If some people survive, then we can ask ourselves the question, well, why did that one survive when this one didn't? This is how the better suited organisms are the ones who can survive. Better could mean stronger or faster, but it might also just mean a different color or more flexible or better at digesting food. Remember, this idea came from Malthus and the overcrowding. The second condition is that there must be variation and adaptation, and it must be heritable. That means it must be able to be passed on from parent to offspring. You can see the yellow ladybugs and the black ladybugs. Can you imagine if all of them looked exactly the same? There would be no variation, but here we have some differences. That leads us to our third condition. There must be differential reproductive success. Differential means different. So basically, a different number of organisms are able to survive and reproduce. Like in our grasshopper example from the beginning, those tan grasshoppers were getting eaten and they were not surviving. The green ones were able to survive and they were having a higher fitness. By the way, biological fitness is like a measure of how many organisms you're able to have and reproduce. In this tree example, can you see there's actually two moths? Like right here is a white moth, and then right here is a black moth. Which moth do you think is going to have a higher fitness? Probably the black moth, because it's going to blend in, and then this one will be easy to spot and will probably get eaten and can't reproduce. This leads us to the idea that Darwin coined survival of the fittest. This is basically the result of natural selection. Organisms with adaptations that are well suited to their environments survive and have high fitness. Individuals with characteristics that are not well suited are going to die without reproducing and have lower fitness. So here we have three different rabbits that all look very different, but they're better suited to their environment. Let's take the Arctic hare, for example. Do you think there are any kind of like gray or darker Arctic hares? Yes, but they're going to stand out against the snowy background and they're going to get eaten and have a lower fitness, which is going to leave our white fluffy ones behind. Just like here, this is a desert cottontail. It has bigger ears to be able to let off heat in the hot desert, and also it has a coloration that blends in. And then again, we have a black rabbit probably found in like a forest. So three different types of rabbits, all would be the most fit in their environment. If you took the Arctic hare and you put him over here in the desert, he's not going to do very well. I want to stress the idea that natural selection does not create perfect organisms. It only creates organisms that are best suited to their environment, like we were just talking about with the rabbits. Or here's an example with flowers and how they are pollinated. This would be a flower where a bee would drink nectar and then carry pollen away. This tree has pollen that dangles off of it, so when the wind blows, it's able to spread it. Both of these are good for that plant's environment. There's no best option. We don't see everything being the same way. We see best solutions for particular environments. And when the environment changes, the organism will either die out or it will evolve. This led Darwin to another idea. He thought that living species are descended with changes over time from common ancestors. Basically, as environments changed over time, organisms changed to be better adapted in them. He made this sketch of kind of like a tree in his notebook where you could see like this could be like a common ancestor and then their organisms and they change and they change and they change slowly over time. He called this idea descent with modification. So each new generation, each new population was similar with some modifications or some differences. If you're interested in this idea, I want to encourage you to go to this link. It has a whole kind of tutorial on phylogenetic trees and common ancestry. And please let me know what questions you have. Thanks for listening.